relating to World AIDS Day.
And I call the member for Goldstein.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I move the motion relating to World AIDS Day in the terms in which it appears on the notice paper.
You proceed.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, every year on the 1st of December we celebrate and recognise World AIDS Day, which is obviously a day that we would all rather not have to celebrate and recognise. But it's an opportunity to recognise those people all around the world who have transmission of HIV and raise awareness about the challenges facing HIV/AIDS in the past, today and into the future. World AIDS Day is a day for people to show their support for people living with HIV and to commemorate people who have died. And this year we celebrate World AIDS Day under the banner of Now More Than Ever, because it's an opportunity to end the stigma, support treatment and get to zero transmissions. And unlike other countries, Australia has a very proud record. We have had a bipartisan spirit related to combating the spread of HIV from the outset, and the outcomes are very clear. At the end of 2018, Australia had an estimated 28,180 people living with HIV infection, representing 0.14% prevalence overall as a proportion of Australians living with HIV. And of course, we have continued to roll out important and critical programs since the very onset of HIV in the 1980s to stop transmission, whether it's in terms of needle exchanges, access to vital or critical medicines, and more recently in terms of medicines that enable people to be able to engage in safe sexual practices. There were 833 HIV notifications in Australia in 2018, the lowest number of notifications since 2001, with a 23% decline over the last 5 years and a 13% decline between 2017 and 2018. And of those, an estimated 90% of those were diagnosed. And of those, 96% were retained in care and 89% were receiving antiretroviral therapy. And of those receiving antiviral therapy, 95% had a suppressed viral load, a clear reminder that one of the biggest and most important things to know is your status to reduce the risk of transmission. And Australia's HIV epidemic continues to be predominantly in men who have sex with men, and recent declines in HIV notifications have been attributed to fewer new diagnoses in this critical group. But they are not alone. Of course, there has been HIV prevalence amongst a very low rate of those who inject drugs as a result of a highly successful harm reduction strategies for many years now. And there remains some challenges, particularly in the context of making sure there isn't transmission in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities and foreign students living in Australia who may not have access to all medications. This Morrison government has made it a continued priority to make sure that there is proper resourcing available for many of the community organisations and health groups to make sure that we continue to fight transmission. At World AIDS Day 2019, additional ongoing support of $2.9 million in 2020-2021 was provided to support the National Peak Organisation to assist priority populations and healthcare professionals in response to bloodborne viruses and STIs. And the National HIV Strategy notes that access to HIV treatments for Medicare and eligible people is an important action to reach priority populations and reduce transmissions every day. That's why, under this minister, we've continued to list new medications and access and treatment options which have made it more possible for Australians to reduce the risk they pose to transmission and to reduce the risk that they may be the recipient of transmission themselves. The National HIV Strategy provides a framework for the Commonwealth and state and territory governments coordinated with a national response to address HIV in Australia. And we can get to Australia that has virtually eliminated HIV, but we don't do so in isolation as government. We do it through the work of so many important community organisations led by groups like National Association of People Living with HIV and AFAO, the Federated AIDS Organisations. All of these community groups, supported by important healthcare workers, provide assistance and support to those in need and make sure that we can reduce the risk and achieve virtually zero transmission. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Order. I think